He doesn't remember.
A young woman named Cherry Darling unhappily works as a go-go dancer at a local club in a small, shabby town in rural Texas. One day, Cherry could no longer hide her frustration with the demanding and sometimes demeaning job and burst into tears while dancing on stage. After the show, her boss, Skip, calmly cautions her and advises her to keep her emotions out of her performance. But Cherry stands up for herself and finally quits her job. Cherry packs her stuff and leaves the club ruminating over her boss's comments and his suggestion that she should take up stand-up comedy. As she walks by the side of the road thinking about her future, a group of soldiers led by Lieutenant Muldoon drives by, fast forcing her to fall down and injure herself. Cherry continues her journey through the dark night, reminiscing about her life and all the dreams she had, but is forced to stop by a shabby old barbecue diner called the Bone Shack, owned by a local man named JT, to nurse her wounds. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Muldoon and his men continue on their way to meet with a chemical engineer named Abby, who they have recently figured out has a secret stash of a deadly chemical named DC-2, which has a paradoxical effect of causing mutations in healthy people and at the same time delaying zombie transformation in already infected people. As the soldiers start threatening Abby to give them access to DC-2, Abby gets scared and shoots the chemical canisters, releasing the strong chemical into the air. At the Bone Shack, Cherry runs into her ex-boyfriend, El Ray, and asks him for a ride. Elsewhere, Dr. William Block and his depressed wife, Dr. Dakota, rise early to start their day and get to their job at the hospital. Dr. Dakota has made all the arrangements to secretly leave her husband behind, and has arranged for her girlfriend Tammy to take her son Tony and her packed stuff before she and her husband return from work. The Blocks get to the hospital, and Dr. William is shocked to see a patient with a bizarre bite wound on his arm. He examines the patient with his colleague Dr. Felix, and as he notes the peculiarities of the wound, he is bewildered to see the wound spreading aggressively and the patient developing a sudden high fever. On the other side of town, Tammy drives into town to help Dr. Dakota leave her husband, but her car breaks down a few miles from the military base. Having no choice, Tammy grabs her stuff, leaves the comfort of her car, and starts walking by the side of the road in the ominous darkness, hoping to find someone driving by to give her a ride. Multiple drivers refuse to help her out, and after a few minutes, she meets her unfortunate fate. After a few moments, El Ray and Cherry drive by the same road calmly chit-chatting. Out of nowhere, a military truck races towards them and drives them off the road, causing their car to roll upside down. Then, Cherry is suddenly snatched away from the car into the woods by the road. El Ray wriggles himself out of the car, gets his guns, and follows Cherry into the woods, hoping to rescue her. El Ray rushes Cherry to the emergency room and explains what happened to Dr. William, who is bewildered to hear that Cherry's severed leg is missing and that it has been taken by the zombies that attacked her. The sheriff of the small town, Sheriff Haig, storms into the hospital and demands to speak to El Ray, who is known to the local law enforcement as a troublemaker. The sheriff admonishes El Ray for carrying a firearm, suspects him of being involved in Cherry's accident, and takes him to the station for questioning. As El Ray leaves the hospital, he notices multiple patients with similar bizarre necrotic wounds and wonders what's going on. Later that night, Cherry regains consciousness, is devastated to see that her leg has been amputated, and silently cries to herself in her hospital room. At the police station, Sheriff Hogway gets a call from his brother JT, who informs him that a couple of delinquents have been curiously hanging around the Bone Shack in the dark. However, JT abruptly ends the call as the mysterious delinquents barge into the diner. At the hospital, many casualties arrive in ambulances and overwhelm the emergency room. Dr. William goes around checking on the arrivals and is shocked to see the severely damaged body of Tammy, who he recognizes as his wife's girlfriend. He sends for his wife, and to confirm his suspicion that his wife was leading a double life, Dr. William steals the deceased's phone. Dr. Dakota is flabbergasted to see her friend, who she hoped would get her and her son away from her dying marriage, murdered in such a brutal way and freezes in shock. Dr. William takes his wife away and pretends to comfort her while asking questions about her relationship with Tammy. Unfortunately, Dr. William catches his wife in a lie and confirms his suspicions that she has planned to leave him. He then proceeds to brutally inject multiple anesthetics into his wife's hand and locks her in a closet. Then, Dr. William is informed that the dead bodies have seemingly walked out of the hospital and are nowhere to be found. At the police station, as Sheriff Haig continues interrogating El Rey, the deputy sheriff comes barging through the doors, nursing his bitten-off finger and screaming in pain. The officers inside find out that the criminal responsible for the deputy sheriff's injuries is detained outside and go to arrest him. To everyone's shock, the perpetrator has broken out of the police car and escaped. However, moments later, they see him in a zombie form advancing towards them. The zombie unexpectedly attacks one of the officers. As the police try to shoot him down, he is joined by others like him, who all attempt to attack and eat the officers. Chaos ensues as the police try to shoot their attackers and defend themselves, while the zombies aimlessly run around trying to find something to feast on. After some struggle, the police come out on top and manage to kill all of the zombies. After helping the police defeat the zombies, El Rey declares that he's going to the hospital to rescue Cherry and proceeds to his car, warning the sheriff to avoid contact with the injured officers as the zombie virus is highly contagious. The sheriff heeds the warning and together with his officers joins El Rey on his way to the hospital. Meanwhile, the hospital is filled above its capacity with infected patients and those transforming into zombies. Dr. Felix and Dr. William realize how contagious the virus is and plan to escape. However, Dr. William goes to get his wife from the closet and is attacked by a zombie before he can get to her. Meanwhile, Dr. Dakota somehow manages to jump out of a hospital window and races to her car, but she struggles to open the car as her hands are still numb from the injections. She uses her legs and her teeth, manages to maneuver herself into the car, and rushes to her house to get to Tony. El Rey, the sheriff, and the officers get to the hospital.
Are you gonna give me a gun? Are you kidding me?
While the police desperately try to get things under control, El Rey runs into the building, fighting zombies left and right. He finds Cherry in her room and prompts her to escape with him, while she argues that she couldn't possibly join him due to her disability. The two continue arguing for a bit, which frustrates El Rey as they're wasting precious time. Then he breaks the leg of a wooden table, attaches it to Cherry's severed leg, and rushes her out of the hospital. Elsewhere, Dr. Dakota gets to her house, sets the twin babysitters on their way, and rushes Tony to get his stuff so that they can leave. Meanwhile, Cherry and El Rey follow the officers to the Bona Shack to check on JT. They enter the shack and the sheriff is happy to learn that his brother is alright and has successfully fought off his attackers. On the other side of town, Dr. Dakota drives Tony to her estranged father, Texas Ranger Earl McGraw's house, but gets suspicious when she finds it unusually quiet. She gives Tony a gun, tells him to shoot it if anyone approaches the car, and leaves to check out what's going on inside the house. Dr. Dakota is utterly terrified and runs back to her car to check on Tony and finds him dead with a self-inflicted head wound. At the car, a group of zombies led by Dr. William surrounds Dr. Dakota. She escapes her husband's grip, retrieves Tony's body from the car, runs to the house, and furiously knocks until Earl opens to let her in. At the Bone Shack, JT prepares his motorbike and car while everyone else stacks up on other necessary supplies. El Rey and Cherry spend some time alone and get intimate. Dr. Dakota, the twin babysitters, Skip, and his dancers join the group of survivors at the Bone Shack, which is now on fire. The battle with the zombies who surround the Bone Shack commences. The sheriff is caught in the crossfire, is gravely injured, and so entrusts El Rey to take over command. El Rey leads everyone to kill the zombies, but soon realizes that escaping is a better option as they are outnumbered. He sets everyone up on the available vehicles, and the group sets on their way. After traveling some distance, the group runs into numerous zombies and realizes that they don't have enough bullets to kill them all. As they try to figure out what to do, Lieutenant Muldoon and his soldiers come to their rescue and kill all the zombies but proceed to imprison the group. In the prison cell, the group meets Abby, who has been locked up for a while. Abby explains to the group that the soldiers have been infected with the zombie virus, are dependent on DC-2, which helps delay the mutation into a zombie, and that they have stolen the chemical from his his lab and stored it under the military base. Then a couple of soldiers take Cherry and Dr. Dakota away from the prison cell and force Cherry to dance for them. In the prison cell, the group distracts the guards, subdues them, and 𝐿-Ray and Abby escape to find the women. The men fight off soldiers on their way and find Lieutenant Muldoon, who suddenly feels cornered and narrates how he and his men contracted the highly contagious virus while on tour in Afghanistan. Even though 𝐿-Ray and Abby respect the lieutenant for his service, they have no choice but to shoot and kill him once he starts turning into a zombie. Downstairs, as one of the soldiers proceeds to rape Cherry, she summons her courage and attacks him with her wooden leg, but the wood is broken in the process. Dr. Dakota gets the sensation in her hands back and helps out Cherry by injecting the soldier with a sedative. 𝐿-Ray and Abby finally find the women. 𝐿-Ray replaces the broken leg on Cherry's leg with a machine gun, which she uses to attack the soldiers on their way to the prison cell to reunite with the group. JT and the sheriff are fatally injured and stay back, while the rest march out to reach the helicopters in the next compound so that they can fly to Mexico. Cherry leads the line, giving cover for the rest of the group, killing off the zombie soldiers with her machine gun leg. However, as Cherry neutralizes many of the targets, a zombie walks up behind her and proceeds to shoot her, but is interrupted and killed by 𝐿-Ray, who ends up being fatally injured in the process. Cherry is gutted and attempts to help 𝐿-Ray to no avail, and he dies in her arms. Meanwhile, the group makes it to the helicopters, but there, Dr. Dakota is accosted by her husband. Lucky Earl intercepts in time and kills Dr. William. The helicopter starts its flight and Dr. Dakota helps Cherry get on so that they can get away from there as soon as possible. Sometime later, the group settles in Mexico and lives a calm and happy life, away from all the chaos. The movie ends as Cherry leads a group of people on the tranquil beach with her beautiful baby girl. Did this story spook you out? Let us know in the comments below. For more horror movie recaps, subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next one. Fear awaits you.